If you've ever said, "No, don't pull that," in the garden, this episode is for you. Today we're talking and walking through how to garden with kids around them, from baby wearing while watering to teaching a 7-year-old how to harvest. Now, my experience is newborn to age 7. That's what I can speak from my heart about. And it's so amazing when you have more than one kid because you can really see how the cycle works with oldest, middle, youngest is I have 3. Okay, so gardening with children, newborn to toddler. This is the stage that's all about the exposure, the sensory experiences, and the routine, right? So how are we involving children at this stage? Well, I have pictures, and I'm not going to show any pictures or videos here. We don't show our kids on the channel at this time rule. I have so many memories of baby wearing in the front with those carrier things while doing watering or while sitting and putting seeds in or planting. That is a way to involve them, right? They are hearing the sounds, they're smelling the garden, even though they might be asleep, right? We are narrating everything. We're giving them, we're giving the tomatoes a drink. The soil feels soft today. The basil smells strong, right? We're talking about what we're doing, or hey, look at this, or hey, did you see that? Just talking about the names of plants. Even though they might not talk back at this point, we can also incorporate things like slow or more. I can't remember what else I used to use. Water, I might have used. I haven't had to sign in a while with kids, but we're also giving them items to explore in the garden. So special smooth rocks. Maybe we've painted rocks, and those are their special rocks that they can move throughout the garden. Little metal garden art. We used to have these welded, I think it was horseshoes or something. That was turtles, or like you could have snails or butterflies, popsicle sticks that they've painted that they can move around. Now I get what you're thinking about, like, oh, but I use that to mark my plants. Tell them which ones are theirs to move around, and maybe you can have them see the difference in yours versus theirs. Otherwise, I honestly haven't used proper labeling in my garden for plant names in years, which next year I think I can finally get to that because my youngest is old enough to know not to touch something that I say not to touch. But just let the toddlers feel like they're helping without harming the plants. You can have toddlers direct sowing. We're always gonna go with the big seeds for these, the sunflowers, the beans, the peas, the squash, the cucumbers, the zinnias, the calendula, right? Anything they can broadcast or push in the ground and cover up. You're just teaching them like those 3 steps. So I know that they're gonna pull out plants, right? They will. So when that happens, we're using a gentle correction and an understanding. So sentences we can use. I'm big on having the right sentence in the moment for different things. And I'm constantly learning new sentences because we're all aging with each other, right? So, oh, that plant wasn't ready yet. Let's find one that is ready, because what we see with kids is they have play schemas. So there's a need. They're wanting to pull a plant, right? We're using our observation. So I'm just going to quickly cover play schemas because that is something that really helped me engage with my children when they were younger. There's connection, so attaching things together, and closing, so building a fort. Enveloping, covering or wrapping, maybe they're putting a blanket around themselves. Orientation, so climbing upside down, looking at things from above. Positioning, putting things in a specific order of color or size. Rotation, spinning, turning, twisting. Trajectory, right? Throwing, dropping, rolling. Transporting, moving things from one place to the other. And then transforming, so this is popular with mixing colors. Play-doh is something that goes through that. So when we see them doing these things, that's a play schema. So I'm gonna move that. And then other things we can say for our sentences when they pull out a plant. Plants need their roots to stay in the ground to grow big. Let's tuck it back in. So here's a huge lesson. Look at the parts of a plant: the root, the stem, the leaf. We're going to put it back in, and here's how we cover it up with the soil and pat it. Like, you're using your words, it's a verbal thing. You're showing them, right? And they're physically getting it. You'll learn what type of learner they are as you go together in the garden. You can also say, we always try to stick to the positive, and I know it's hard. Your hands are helping. Let us use those hands to pet the soil, right? This is a baby plant. Let's be gentle, like we're petting a kitten or whatever they have in their life that means gentle, gentle touch. Teaching where to walk was a really big thing. So either having raised beds or a log as a perimeter or rocks, a string, a little fence, something to teach them the difference on the path and the bed. These are our walking paths. The plants live in the bed. Paths are for feet. Soil is for plants. Follow the stepping stones. They're your garden road, whatever it takes to get them to see, like, we don't walk in where the plants live, right? Okay, bug exploration was huge with my second born, right? So we would purposefully have rocks and logs that they could roll out, not in. We don't want to crush the plants, right? So we showed him to roll it out. Every day there's something new, right? So logs, boards, rocks. Logs are homes for bugs. We would then practice identifying bugs and touching bugs, right? So obviously worms are the biggest one, all of the beetles that happen under there. And then when we get into preschool age, like 3 to 4, kids want to do everything, right? They're going to ask, why? Can I do it? I want to do it, those kinds of things. So we're going to keep adding to our direct sewing skills with them. We could still stick to big seeds, but they're going to have more dexterity with their fingers and control. So pinch sewing, right? Pinch, sprinkle. Lettuce, radish, spinach, carrots. Give them a few. Cosmos, nasturtiums. Those are really good for their size hand. And practicing that planting method, teaching them how to hold plants gently. If you buy transplants at the store, if you grow them yourself, holding the plants in a safe, like if you want to teach them to hold it by the bottom, I don't know, if you want to teach them the stem or the leaves, you choose how you want to teach them. But, we're giving the roots a soft blanket of soil. We like gentle hands, right? The watering, we all are still learning how to water with certain things, right? So water the soil, not the top of the plant. Plants drink from their roots. That's why we want to water at the base. Doing slow instead of fast, heavy, right? We are also doing the plant identification. So this is basil. It smells, you can say spicy or aromatic. I don't know what kind of language you want to use. This is a tomato. Feel the fuzzy stem, because that is a distinct thing where I go, oh, that's a tomato plant, right? This is mint. Smell the mint, feel the mint, right? It's one that they can touch and be okay. Now, what I saw when I started, like, having them, when they could talk about plants to another kid, was the example of, wow, this is working. So we had neighbor kids that moved in a couple doors down, and we were still gardening here at the rental home. Right now, our garden is at a different property where we don't live. And they would be walking through, and my kids would be teaching them, we don't walk there. That's a plant. We're growing food right here. Don't, because the neighbor kids would just trample in and bulldoze through stuff. And it was like, you know, um, but they were teaching the kids, my kids were teaching the neighbor kids, look, this is a carrot. And they would show them, like, pulling it out of the ground. Look, a carrot. This is how a carrot grows. And these kids just never had that experience before. And it is what it is. Showing them a tomato plant, doing the daily harvest, a green bean, a pepper. Those were things that I remember. A cucumber that they were around for. And my oldest would teach them, like, well, that one's not ready to harvest yet, because that's kind of the thing they learn as they get older, is that patience part of it. Then there's weeding. One of my children really like weeding. So we start simple about, if it pulls easy, here's where we pull it. We want to get the root. Here's where we put it. If you're collecting it in a bucket to then add water to make nutrients, or if you're putting it in a pile somewhere. Just I would show them one. Like, here's this one. You find another one that looks like this, then you're gonna pull it. And you're gonna sit here and do this space until you don't want to do it anymore, right? I don't have them weeding with a tool. I mean, there's my oldest is 7. I'm not giving him a tool to weed. I still have him use his hands. And his favorite thing is to harvest. My second born is weeding. I'd say my third born is planting, is their favorite at this time. But once you get into like 5 to 7 years of age, that early elementary, this is where kids can really help. Like, you could really give them a job, right? And it gets done the right way. So green beans, peas, cherry tomatoes, berries, strawberries, lettuce leaves, radishes. These are things that they can learn how to harvest. I should have said that first. They can harvest green beans, peas, when you teach them like 2 hands to pull it. They can harvest a cherry tomato. They can harvest strawberries. They can learn how to pick the outer leaves for lettuce. They can pull a radish. Ages 6 and up, and these are just ballpark. I don't want to say only age 5, only age 6 can handle these tasks. This is just a rough try it with your kids at any age, like a 4-year-old can harvest a carrot and a potato, no problem. So take this with a grain of salt, right? The digging up potatoes is the treasure hunt. That's what everyone wants to help with still. Picking cucumbers, understanding when we're going to leave a cucumber to seed save from it is a whole nother level that we're teaching. And I think next year I'm going to implement like a flag system, like a ribbon that I tie to certain green beans and certain cucumbers so they can get fully mature to seed save from, because otherwise people start picking things and it gets to be a whole mess of arguing, right? Having them pick herbs for drying, pulling out onions, teaching them how to harvest with a scissors at some point could be helpful. You know, giving them more sentences, right? So looking for, how do you know when it's ready? Whatever you tell yourself is what you're going to tell them. Teaching them when a plant flowers, whether it's meaning we're going to get fruit and that's great, or it's bolting, it's stressed out, it's going to make a seed. Talking about those examples with them. The bug thing, it was like this whole nother level of helping me when we could teach them how to harvest bugs, right? So like hand picking Japanese beetles and putting in a soapy water cup, they loved doing, and it helped me tremendously, right? Teaching them how to identify a beneficial predator, like a nice red ladybug, versus a pest that we want them to squish, like the cabbage moth caterpillar, okay? Teaching them what a soldier beetle looks like. They just now ask, like, hey, what job does this bug have? What's its name? Is it good or bad? The bees, teaching them all the different types of bees coming in and out of the garden has been amazing. Teaching garden behavior without stress, right? We struggle with the no, don't do that moments, right? But we just have to redirect, explain, and then give them a job because they just want to help, okay? So instead of don't pull the plants, we're going to try to say, let's pull these weeds instead. Maybe it's grass. Maybe grass is creeping in and you just want them to pull the grass, right? Instead of stop splashing the water, we can go with, can you make slow rain for this row and water here at the soil? Remember, down at the roots, I need you to be a slow rain cloud today, whatever gets to them, whatever speaks to them, right? Instead of saying, stop stepping on the plants, you tell them where they should walk. Walk on the stepping stones, walk on the grass, walk on the wood chips. Remember the borders, your feet are garden helpers. We don't want to compact the soil. We don't want to squish the plant. And then, of course, I know the dirt, the soil, the moments of eating it, throwing it, again, we come back to those schemas of trajectory, okay? We have to stay calm. We don't eat the soil, but we can eat the tomato. The soil is for growing the plants. The food is for growing you. We leave the soil be. But you can play over here in your sand. Or here's a little bucket that you can have over here, but we're not going to take any more out. This is what I'm giving you. Then there's the whole indoor gardening. it was really fun to get grow lights and have them plant seeds in a little cell in a container under grow lights and having a fan and teaching them bottom watering, right? So filling the pots, poking the holes for the seed, even having a spray bottle, like doing a mist on seeds. The thing I like teaching them is when you brush your hand against the seedlings to like give them strength and it has a good smell and you're touching the plants. That's one of the favoriteest things to do. Harvesting microgreens has been fun for them too. Uh, Understanding how to identify what the plant is when it's 2 inches tall by the leaves, right? Plants need sun, water, air, just like we do. Plants eat through their roots. The light is their sun when we're indoors. Like there's just a whole nother level to the onion of gardening with kids when you're doing that inside stuff. Praying mantises we don't have here, but that would be really fun. The ninja of the garden, right? Spiders, how we let them be, we leave them. Squash bugs, so like teaching, this is back to the bug thing, teaching ways to identify a bug is here if something's eating the leaves. We start looking, we're looking for eggs, we're looking for the bug. Is it a friend or a foe? What color is it? Does it fly? Does it go on the ground? Right? So drawing, I have drawings here. Encourage them to map out their own garden. Now, whether they actually go and plant a garden, the point of this exercise is to get them thinking about orientation of where the sun hits, where the tall plants go, what crops do they want to eat. This is going to help you plant things that they want from the garden, right? It's their section. It's growing confidence, right? So here's the youngest's. Let me move this so I can tell. So clearly, like there's zones. We had to map out north, south, east, west. And we had to write out like, okay, what were you planting here? So this was a lot of raspberries, cucumbers, watermelon, peas, carrots, and strawberries. And then we level up to the next age. We have this. Oh no, I dropped that. This level. So we have a different style of garden, right? So the crops list for this one is pumpkins, eggplants, squash, cucumbers, green peppers, corn, of course, our flowers, popcorn, raspberries, and peas. Again, it's really beneficial to help them draw out their garden, right? And so here's the oldest, latest, and it just, you see how it changes with the age on the level of like planning. So he's got the path of grass at the edge, and then there's like these different quadrants. So there's corn, carrots. This one I didn't write on. That's got to be tomatoes. Nut trees, berry bushes. I don't know what the other stuff is. I can't remember. Just having them involved on that level, it's magical. you know, Handing them a seed packing and say, go for it, right? Having them have a job every time we go to the garden property. There's resources and programs for kids in gardening. So local cooperative extension services, every state or even a province, if you're in Canada, has an extension office, and many of them offer kids gardening classes, junior master gardening programs. Maybe there's a free seed library near you. Maybe there's a day camp program where you drop them off for a couple hours. They learn about gardening basics. You pick them up. Teach them about soil testing. Teach them about a pollinator patch, right? Visit gardens. Like we've went to different pollinator gardens, and there was a video I did about this other garden where I actually ran into a master gardener while I was there. So I interviewed them and we talked about that on a video. And then walking through state parks and noticing how nature plants, and then like a rock garden. It's just, getting curriculum. Like we homeschool, so like gardening is part of our education, and just having them draw the garden, journal the garden, help sit with me in the garden, eat from the garden. All of those things are really great. There are programs sometimes with like 4-H where they could earn things like badges or participate in things at the fair. Agriculture clubs, they might have opportunities for that when they're much older. Maybe there's a garden school organization or program. Like they have some raised beds that they plant out with the preschoolers, local farm to school things. Maybe there's a master gardener running some kind of youth program. Like there's all these different ways to get them involved. Walking through a community garden, we did that. I have a video or a short where you can hear my kids talking as we walked through, and we noticed like which ones were very weedy and buggy, and if we identified like what is that growing? I don't know. Or I do know what that is, right? Different workshops at greenhouses. Greenhouses usually have a thing in the beginning where you can come plant with them with a kid like for free if you buy something. These are great opportunities for families that might not have a garden yet or they don't have the land yet. You can go to places. Now, here's where I haven't tried yet. There's different gardening curriculums, rooted childhood nature study activities, mother nature, nature play resources, seed to plate, farm to table units. I don't have any tried and true resources for that, but I would consider testing some, right? And giving my opinions on them. And, ways you can help out with that is becoming a member of the channel. It's 99 cents a month is the lowest tier. That would help me pay for things like this. You could give a gift, a super chat, a super sticker to try and test out some of these things. To join, there's a join button or it says subscribe plus, how YouTube changes things, or there's a link in the description if you're interested in looking at that. Now, there are also free nature centers and arboretums and local gardens, like I talked about, where you can go and do scavenger hunts or talk about sensory things in the garden or bugs. Um, some websites I can talk about: kidsgardening.org, National Wildlife Federation, Project Learning Tree. You can type in your search engine, kids gardening programs near me, or contact your local extension service. Usually it's through a university, or go on their website, email them, make a call, whatever format of communication you're comfortable with, right? They are a goldmine for gardening programs. Or like we've had free handouts mailed to us just because we homeschool or because we have kids and we signed up on an email list. I'm sure there's videos online. Like there's so many things and levels of how to garden with kids that we can get into, and I want to hear from you. What has been your experience gardening with kids? Maybe it's your grandkids, maybe it's the neighbor kids, your own kids. Maybe you worked in a garden center and you ran into kids in that format. I want to hear your stories. Join in on the conversation in the comment section below. We are helping raise gardeners for tomorrow, right? So if you want to hear more conversations like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe, share the channel out with another fellow gardener or friend or family member. Let's get more people here in the conversation, grow every day in every way, and check out one of our previous videos to keep learning as we grow.